USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Come on.
Those right there. Okay. Good afternoon. This is Garth Marchent from Millennium TV with the program News and Views with the Rabbi. And today, it is a special occasion that we are celebrating the 100th birthday of Malcolm X, otherwise known as LL Haj Malik El Shabazz. And with me here, I have Ms. Pamela Hazel. This morning, we went to a press conference at the National Action Network with Reverend Sharpton and Mayor Adams, and the two daughters of Malcolm X were there, along with Attorney Crum and others. Councilman who was one of the Central Park Five, who is now councilman. So we have a special thing, and I want to tell a personal story in the beginning that Betty Shabazz, the wife and the mother of Malcolm X children, had a special occasion to really meet her up front. I was a member of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, and at the time we were having problems at Medgar Evers College. She was working at Medgar Evers College, and we wanted to fire the president of Medgar Evers because he wasn't doing the right thing. She was assistant to the president of Medgar Evers College. So we got the president fired, and the board wanted to fire Betty Shabazz. And I stood my ground at the request of the host of Like It Is, Gil Noble, said, you can't let Malcolm be assassinated twice. You got to save his sister Betty Shabazz. So at the Board of Trustees, not only did we save her job, we promoted her and made her dean under the new president of Medgar Evers College by my resolution as a member of the Board of Trustees. So she became the godmother of my 3 children, and we was always in her office. And at the end, just like Reverend Sharpton was telling the story, she gave us some money to look after my children because she knew that I was struggling. So I appreciate Malcolm X. I appreciate his wife and what she has done for the community. She was a great person, and so was Malcolm X. So with that, we'll get into the story of Malcolm X.
But before we really go to the story of Malcolm X, I also like to say that I had the privilege of meeting his wife. It was a very, very long time ago. I used to go to church in Brooklyn at that time, and we had a function and like a concert,
Yes.
and she was invited. And what I remember of her speech, she spoke about community and she spoke about the importance of education. I don't remember the elaboration of the speech, but I remember that is what she focused on. She focused on community and education. And she said that if we concentrate and focus on those 2 things, other things that relevant to the betterment of the people will fall into place. That's what I remember about her.
See, in Caribbean, a lot of people don't know that Sister Betty Shabazz was the part owner of Inner City Broadcasting with Percy Sutton, WLIB, WBLS. Matter of fact, when I wanted a job out of college, she had me getting a job at Inner City Broadcasting. That was her. She was always looking out for people. So I appreciate Sister Betty Shabazz, and because of that, I even appreciate Malcolm X as a person who really brought the thing and focused on people's lives, you know. So I wouldn't be basically where I am without one person that really, there are other people, but I'll never forget Dr. Betty Shabazz. And at the time at Medgar Evers College, when we had the movement, we had people like Ileana Van Zandt, where many people know. She was the vice president of student government at Medgar Evers and became the president of the student government at the time. So we all supported Dr. Betty Shabazz and a gentleman by the name of Ryan Wright. And so we had in the struggle to keep Medgar Evers College going. As a matter of fact, we saved Medgar Evers because they were trying to close the college. So it's with the instruction from Betty Shabazz while we as a community got together. And many of the people in Brooklyn rallied around her. People like G2 Awusi, Sonny Carson, you know what I mean? People like those, Bishop Daughtry, you know, Reverend Sharpton, you know, all those people rallied behind Sister Betty Shabazz. And I'm proud to say, because of that, we honor Malcolm X, because he came up with a family. And by the way, his twin daughters, just to let you know, when they assassinated him, right, his children were still in Betty Shabazz's stomachs. So Malcolm was killed not knowing his twins that were born later on, you know, because the people who wanted to kill him wanted to do that in front of his family, right, and want to embarrass his family, and to the point where Malcolm couldn't even get to see his own children being born, his two last twin daughters. So it's a history that we got to honor, we got to respect him, you know, and like he said, by any means necessary. So, Ms. Pam, what do you believe that what Malcolm meant by any means necessary?
Well, he believed that, I believe that the statement speaks for itself. By any means necessary. And I know that a lot of times that you talk to people, they would focus on violence. But when you speak to other people, it's not all about violence. It has to do with education. It has to do with family. Then he also spoke about the ballot or the bullet. And a lot of times people feel, oh, you know, you really don't have to vote and it doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference, because we live in a world where sometimes people think it doesn't matter who is in power. That's a false belief. It does matter who is in power, because they make policies that could affect you one way or the other. You know, I have always been a community activist. Myself and the rabbi go back a very long time. And in my community, Jamaica, Queens, I can tell you that years ago, coming up to even this year, I make a point that when I go to the post office, I will ask for Black Heritage stamp. I will ask for Malcolm X stamp. Well, that stamp, if you ask the regular person right now, they wouldn't even know that Malcolm X stamp was originated in 1999. Because guess what? You don't see it anymore.
It disappeared. They removed it.
It just disappeared. And this is one of the ways that the federal government and the oppressors, they use to diminish the legacy of our leaders who came before, because they do not want us to follow in their footsteps in order to take ourselves out of the predicament that we are in America, the land of the free. Well, we know this too from our personal experience. All right, it's not really true to some of us in some cases.
Right. See, so within that context, a lot of people try to pit Dr. King against Malcolm, but both of them were really fighting on it. They might say it in different ways, but they agreed on many ways of doing these things. You know what I mean? It's organizing, it's coming together as a group of people to unite against the oppressor, right? And it's not that, you know, people think that Malcolm was for violence. He said by any means necessary, which means that if the Ku Klux Klan come with their guns to kill you, you have a right to self-defense. So he was talking about that from that sense. You know what I mean? Why Dr. King wasn't really for taking up the gun, but at the same time, they had similar philosophies of organizing our people to fight against oppression, right? To fight against police brutality, right? In some of Malcolm X speeches, and I don't know in the room, could you play the speech by Malcolm X? Anytime you're ready to put it on, let me know, because we want you to hear in his own words what he meant by what he said. Are you ready? All right, so we'll continue until you put the tape on. Hello, viewers in America and around the world. This is Garth Marchent for Millennium TV 24. I am the host for News and Views with the Rabbi. This platform is for all religions and much more. Please watch Millennium News 24 every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are streaming on live TV and podcast, iOS and Android services, and all smart TV, Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Globally, we are on Horizon Satellite. Our website is MillenniumTV24.com, MillenniumNews24.com, all social media, Millennium News 24. We are back. And I just want to add that I want to thank Mayor Adams for what he's doing in bringing the life of Malcolm X forward to expose what happened and to do some of the work that Malcolm has done. So kudos to Mayor Adams for bringing everything together for the ceremony to honor Malcolm X. Yes, go ahead.
You know, and what people have to also understand is that everything that Malcolm X fought for and was assassinated for is relevant today. Whether you are speaking about jobs for people of color, contract jobs that there's some kind of policy where jobs from the contract is put aside for people of color in the deprived community. But you guess what? It doesn't happen. And the people who are in charge don't do anything to make sure that the jobs go to the people in the community. So we are still struggling. Whether you're talking about mass incarceration, every single thing, there is no issue that he fought for that still does not persist today. And we have to understand that we have to continue to fight. Like Al Sharpton was saying this morning, it's 100 years today, since Malcolm X was assassinated. But you know what? The legacy and the struggle.
His birthday, 100 years since it was his birthday.
His birthday. And the struggle goes on today like it just happened yesterday. We are still as a people of color, we are still at the bottom of the economical ladder. We are still mostly incarcerated. Our community is always left in a mess. It is always a fight, a struggle, even for the basic things like getting our community clean, making sure our community is clean, despite the fact that we have sanitation department, parks department, and all these different departments. It is still a hardship, because even our local government, our councillor and senators, of which many are black, in the black community. And despite our fight, our struggle, our complaint, our going to 311 and all the different mechanisms that is built in to helping us, we still don't get the help that we need.
Right. And so within the context of what Malcolm has said, if you go back to a number of issues, environmental issues, for example, in some of the black communities where you have an unfriendly environmental situation, the sewer comes up into the people's homes, right?
Yes.
You name it, the bad water. Look what happened in Flint, Michigan, right? Where the water was laden with lead and poisoned the children and even the adults. That only happens in the community. And so what Malcolm X was talking about is that we need to fight for all of these things so we can let the system know that we cannot continue to treat our people and kill our people like this. You know, so organize into a group of people that by any means necessary. It comes back to the term by any means necessary. I hear a lot of people using that term now, by any means necessary, but that's so true, because to do good things in our community, right?
Yes.
We have to organize. We have to come together as a group of people instead of separating. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Caribbean people don't want to talk to Black Americans and vice versa. And, you know, I mean, we don't talk to the Native Americans and we don't want to talk to the Southeast Asian, and we all divided. And what he's talking about is coming together to fight the common enemy, the common cause of getting the right things for our community. To fight, he was the leader against police brutality before he was famous. He went to Los Angeles back in the days, you know, in 1963, 64, and fought against police brutality in Los Angeles. He was known for that, to be in the struggle forefront of the people. So that's why we must always honor this man's legacy and remember him on his burial and remember the assassination that was done. Because at the press conference, I asked the question, well, they wanted to release the investigation, the records of what happened to President Kennedy, which was correct, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. But how about the assassination of Malcolm X? The police was involved in the assassination. The NYPD was part of it with the FBI, CIA. They plotted. And so we need to know who. And when the government organized the plot to kill Malcolm X. So the answer there was that's being done. And I'm glad to see that is going to be done. And we're going to try to get the records released to know the truth.
Yes.
The truth behind the assassination. And I was glad to ask that question and to get an answer at the press conference.
Yes.
And, you know, because like I said, I take it personal because of my relationship with Malcolm X family, especially his wife, Betty Shabazz.
You know, and I do hope that this investigation come to fruition, because it is very difficult for the ordinary people to believe that our government, the CIA, and all these people who are held in such high esteem, that they will be involved in plotting to assassinate. These are the people who are there to make sure that we have a civilized society when you have the common criminals doing wrong. And here we have the FBI and the CIA and all these people using the trust of the people to engage in such atrocious behavior. And it comes back to getting the truth, so that people will understand that it doesn't matter how high up you are, what label or profession that you have. It comes back to the evil of the heart. That's what it comes back to.
Well, you see that, again, assassinate. Look what they did to Mayor Adams, right? That was actually an assassination of character,
Yeah.
right? They used the government agency, the FBI, and all these other things to come after the man for things to destroy a black man who was mayor of the city of New York. That was just using the government to destroy him.
Yes.
When a lot of it was not totally true. You know what I mean? He might have made a mistake, but it doesn't get right to the level of what they were doing to him. So I want people to know that, because it rises to the level of an assassination. They actually assassinated Mayor Adams using the government tools to do that. So when you look back at Malcolm X, luckily they didn't kill Mayor Adams, but actually they killed his character and his ability to do his job and to get reelected. So people need to know that. Yes.
And look, in the community of color, I just don't like the word black or to use it, but that's a different story. But there are so many issues that we have to deal with all at once. And then the oppressors will try to find out, why so many people have mental issues? Why it is so much mental issues, a homelessness, and all these different things combined, that sometimes people just, they have no more hope. They have no more hope. They just give up. You get up in the morning, you can't get a job, despite in a lot of cases you have the qualifications. And I could just right now at this minute, what comes to my mind, I could think about even in our black community, like McDonald's. You walk around and you look at McDonald's in my community, Jamaica, Queens, and the people of Jamaica, Queens, people my complexion, who don't get hired. And despite the complaint, whoever you complain to, you complain to the council person, you complain to 311, you complain to every single level of government or places that you're supposed to complain to, with absolutely no change. And they have this mantra: if you see something, say something. But guess what? When you say something, it stops right there. We just don't get the help. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the environment, jobs, police involvement, exaggeration in simple things, no matter what it is. And then again, they wonder why people are hopeless, why they are so oppressed that they feel, you know what, life is not worth living.
Well, you see, that's what, again, coming back to Malcolm X, in the sense that that's what he was talking about. You can't go shop where you can. You know what I mean? In the sense that if they don't want to hire you, why shop there? And in the sense, then we gotta start our own business. He was talking about. You know what I mean? So if you look in the black community, New York here, for example, we don't own one major supermarket.
And why is that?
But we're the ones that's buying the food.
Why is that?
Right. And what happens is that when those people who are owning the supermarket, they don't hire us. If you go to a lot of those, we're not hired. You go in there, you'll see it. And not only that, when they take the money from us, it goes outside of the community, and there's no real investment to stay in the community to help the community build.
Yeah.
Right. So he was talking about us investing in our own community and ownership of our own business,
but
having our own banks, having all those things that are necessary for us to survive as a community. But we're not doing right now. We're not even doing that.
But okay, we're not doing it, right? But by human nature, by natural desire of the human race, we would like to be like everyone else. We would like to have jobs. We would like to have businesses. We would like to have all these different things. But guess what happened? we are being denied. And what is so hurtful, when I go around my community, and this is what I have been doing for when I was a young girl, growing up, whether it's here or where I was born, people complain and they complain, but the people who have the authority to make a difference, they ignore us. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's go back just to my community.
Yes.
Just for an example, Black leaders, most of the leaders in Jamaica, Queens, they are Black. Why is it you could have contractors come in our community working literally in front of our homes, literally in front of our homes? They don't look like us. We don't get the jobs. And when we complain to our community leaders who look like us, they brush us off with all kinds of excuses. Oh, we will get back to you. We have to speak to A, B, C, D, F, G. And in the meanwhile, when you are asking them to help in one problem, there are several different problems coming into play. So after a time, people get tired, you get fed up, you get frustrated, and you don't feel there is any place to go. You go back. I can focus on my community. Can I? I can. Garbage here, there, and everywhere. You complain to your local leaders. You go to community board meetings. It does not make a difference. For the moment, they would say, oh, we're going to give you, take my card. Call me. We will do this. We will clean up this. We will remove the junk cars. Oh, there is a law that you cannot leave junk cars in one place after 7 days. All right, that's a policy, a law, whatever you want to call it. But here is the reality. It is happening. The junk cars are in our neighborhood and they are not being removed.
But put it in defense of some of the elected officials in the community, I'm not going to fully put the full blame on them, because it's an overall systematic thing that one elected official don't have the power to change. Sometimes they try to help, but then there's roadblocks put into place. So because I know a lot of the elected officials in the community and they try to help people and they do help a lot of people, right? However, they run into the obstacles. The state has these rules, the city has these rules, and they can't bypass these things. So it's not official that they don't want to do anything, is that the system prevents them from doing these things.
Okay. In some cases, I'm not saying 100%, in some cases they do, some cases they can't. But here the way I think. If you go and just use the junk cars as an example, you go to the elected officials, and you and I have gone to our local leaders concerning the subject matter. All right. So if there is an obstacle where he or she cannot correct the problem, but they never come back to us. They never hold that person responsible. They never come back to us and say, you know what? We contacted Mr. or Mrs. this, that, and the other, and they did nothing about it. So now they have to be blamed. They do not come back to us and say anything. So you have all these open-ended problems with no remedy, no resolution. And then when you look, is that people say, you know what, there is nothing I can do. I feel oppressed. I feel hopeless. I feel that no matter what I do, I get up in the morning, they say, call 311, call this, call that, go there, go to meetings, go exhaust everything. But yet still nothing is happening.
The problem in our community is, again, back to what Malcolm, is the involvement of the community. That the community don't express their voices when it comes. It might be one or two individuals like yourself or like myself going on saying this is the concern, and it don't get addressed. But united as a group of people coming together, right, by any means necessary, right? Because one thing I know about politicians, right, if they know that you can vote them out of office and vote them in office, there's going to be some more response and some movement. But in a lot of cases, when these elections are happening, you find out that there's nobody involved, nobody votes. Look at this last election for president. How many people in our community didn't vote? Right? So we get the results that we get. Who are we going to blame but ourselves? We can't blame Donald Trump for doing what he's doing because we didn't vote. And that's the point, in the sense that the people in the community are not voting, right? The people in the community don't get involved in their community. They don't go to the precinct council meeting with the police to find out what's happening with the police department. They don't go to the community boards to express what's happening on their block. They don't file complaints correctly. But when we say we call it 311, 311 is just a computer thing like that. They're not going to respond to it. We got to be upfront by any means necessary to make sure that the people respond to our needs. And if they know that we can vote them out of office or we can do these things, then believe me, things will change by any means necessary.
Well, look, I don't agree with some of the things that you are saying, that everybody have to get involved. You also have to remember, people have to go to work, people have to raise their children, people have so much to do that I am not going to hold one or two people responsible or accountable when something goes wrong in our community. Because, okay, let me just use an example again. If there is a fire, one person, it only takes one person to call the fire department. Yet still, if you have abandoned cars, if you don't have jobs, parks department come in, they plant trees and this with all kind of promises of beautifying our community. For examples I'm using, right? When you call, why is it that if one person calls and one person say, listen, here's the problem. We have 10 abandoned cars have been sitting for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Why is it that you have to have an army of people to call? No, that is wrong.
All right, on that note, we have to take a break and we'll be right back. I guess we're not taking a break. So, yes. So the thing that I'm saying is that you'll find a whole block of people that live on a block or in an apartment building.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen to America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
The reason why is because it's those people who own the franchise, McDonald's, a franchise, going to hire their own people. So we're not the owners of the franchise. That's why.
Look,
We're back. If we could please go to the tape and on Malcolm X, please. If we could play that for the time we want to hear the voice of Malcolm X.
But as I was...
Okay. If we can't pull up the tape of Malcolm X, let's continue.
Look, it is not fair to blame people for their own blight. We have all these people in charge with the authority to help us. They have the authority to help us. But the reason that our complaints go unheard and nothing happened is because they know that we are powerless. They know that we could complain and we can complain and we can complain. Nothing happens to them. Because if we complain to the person higher than them, they are not being held accountable. They are not being held accountable.
But accountability, like Malcolm says, the ballot or the bullet, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to the power structure, it's the ballot. And when you look at our community, the turnout in our community is what, 10%? 90% of the people don't even vote. So why, if I'm an elected official, why should I care if 90% of the people that live in that district don't even bother to vote? So I don't have to care about you?
Well, God, if you care about the community, if you campaigning on the promises that you will clean up, you will make life better off because the person before you or the person who you campaign, your opponent, they are not going to do it. They are liars. They only promise. They don't do anything. But vote for me. Vote for me. And when you vote for me and you put me in power, I am going to correct the problems. Then you cannot come back and say that as a leader, now I won the race. Now you cannot come back and say, well, only 10% vote, so I don't care. That's false, and that is not fair to the people who vote. As I said before in my example, if there is a fire, one person called the fire department. Yet still, if you don't have jobs in the community, no matter who complain, the problem does not resolve.
My friend Andy King has a saying, people pay attention to people who participate, right? If you don't participate, I don't have to pay attention to you. And that's what we have in the problem in our community. And a good guy that I knew, who is from Trinidad, right, said, right, organize. Join an organization. Okay. If you don't organize, or you don't, people won't pay attention to you at all. Okay. So if they don't pay attention to you, they don't have to respond. Okay. They don't have to fix your street. They don't have to come and solve the issue that you are complaining about. Okay. And people are not organized.
Okay. So
Stokely Carmichael, you know his name.
Okay.
All right.
But let me say this to you. When I go to a community board meeting, happens to be community board 12, there are sometimes there's no place to sit. We complain, not I, we complain. Here's part of the problem. The people, the developers, right? Those people who come to say that they want a permit to have a business, they are guaranteed, I believe it's 10 minutes, guaranteed. All right. Also, the community board leaders, the president, and what have you, they are guaranteed to stand up and talk about the accolades, talk about all what they have done for the community, and all the beautiful things. However, the people who live in the community, the people who are affected by the blight of the community, guess what? We have 2 minutes. And also, they came up, just recently, they came up with another part of the platform that even that 2 minutes, it's not guaranteed that we're going to get to speak. So in other words, they don't want to hear our complaint. That's the interpretation.
Well, what I think the interpretation is a little bit wrong in the sense that the way, ladies and gentlemen, every community is organized in what they call a community boards. I think I forget how many of them they are, but you have to notify the manager of the community board what issues you're speaking on, what issue in advance, at least a day or two before the meeting, and then you get to speak on 2 minutes on the issues in which you speak at. So if you do not go through the process, right, by letting the community board know what your issue is, they're not going to let you speak. So therefore, we got to know that we have a right to speak and we have a right to petition. I have petitioned the community board on issues, and they resolved it.
Do me a favor, God. Don't assume, because I believe that when I said what I just said, you would read the fine prints. So if you didn't read the fine prints, let me just explain. We go through the process of calling in writing or texting or email the day or the 2 or the 3 days before. So I have to break it down for you, right? We go through it, and our names are there to speak 1 or 2 minutes. However, in the program, they're already telling you, the resident of the community, that even though you went through the process, there's no guarantee. So in other words, when they stand up and speak about their accolades, and the developers come and say, I want a permit for this, that, and the other, if there is time, you, the resident, will get to speak.
All right, so
this is my experience.
Right, but the experience is complete. And I give you an example.
It's my experience.
I give you an example. You know, there was a situation in the South Jamaica houses where 12 people died of an overdose of crack in the basements of the precinct. Okay. So I went to the community board, and they gave me an opportunity to present it. When you go to the community board, it's not just 2 minutes. 2 minutes you can speak, but you can put something in writing and present it to the board so they can have it. So the 2 minutes is only for you to speak, but you could write a 10-page document and present to them based on the issues that you want. Yes. And what happened after we presented it to the board, the police department, the community board people, and the elected officials met together and resolved the issue because it was presented in the proper form. Okay. And so what I'm saying to you is that there is an opportunity for us to participate.
But you know
people don't listen to people who don't participate.
You could deny what I'm saying. You could take what I say and mix it and slice it and dissect it so that what you have to say will kind of disseminate what I am saying. What I am saying is that it does not matter where we go to complain. It doesn't matter if it's 311. It doesn't matter if it's the community board which we live. It does not matter if we go directly to the council person or if we go to the senator. In most cases, and the evidence is there, in most cases, our problems are not resolved. And it is not fair for a community leader, whether you're a council person or senator, to say, well, you know what? I'm a senator, but only 10% of the people vote for me. So therefore, I don't care. That's not what you said when you were campaigning. You said that when I get elected, I am going to be the senator for all.
But you see, I know, like we take, for example, Mayor Adams has a community, clergy and community empowerment-based organization, right? And all the time the mayor has meetings with all his commissioners. He bring them to the community. And if you have a problem, I know some of the problems that the mayor himself have resolved based on what he heard from the people. So people, like I said, you got to participate, and a lot of us don't participate. You ask the mayor's office to help, he's going to help you. I got help from the mayor's office for a situation where they stole they stole the deed from my house, right?
Okay.
And had me evicted, and I was in the street, and they resolved it, and the mayor got me a place to stay. So what I'm saying is that you gotta people know how to participate, and people who participate, and that's what on the gist of Malcolm X, this is what he's talking about. By any means necessary.
Okay, and I'm here
the
to
ballot
say,
or the bullet.
I'm here to say people participate. I am here to say people use every means necessary of the government to complain, and nothing, in most cases, nothing is being done.
And on that note, we have to close, and want to close by saying, in all honor, and let's not forget Shabazz Malcolm X. Let's not forget the name, and let's honor him by our action and our deeds in memory of him. Kudos to Malcolm X.
Happy birthday, Malcolm X.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time.